Welcome to the Kid and Drag Gaming Podcast. This is Kid.
And this is Drag. Remember, if you're enjoying the content, go check us out on our socials. Follow us so we post our latest updates. On Instagram, you can look for us at Kid in Drag. On Facebook, same thing, Kid in Drag. If you're follow us on Twitter, go for Drag Kid In. Also, check out our website at kidindrag.chat. You can find all of our latest episodes. All of our stuff is out there. You can contact us. We can get direct feedback from you and help you get the content you want to hear. Now, let's talk about all the stuff you want to talk about. All right, today we are going to talk a little bit about streaming and what it takes to get going, whether you're going to go on Twitch or Mixer, or you're going to do some of the other formats out there, maybe YouTube streaming, Facebook streaming. Talk a little bit about all that, even though it's going to be focused mostly on Twitch because they are kind of the kings of the ring, if you will, especially since Amazon bought them out a couple of years ago. They have become the gold standard for streaming. We're going to talk somewhat about the technology, somewhat about the commitment, and the things that kind of go into streaming and how do you get going. So, Kid, what do you have on streaming and what do you want to talk about this episode?
So it all started a long time ago, many moons, that Twitch come out and I'm like, what is this craziness? And then I get on there and watching some of my favorite games, people playing, and kind of getting some tips. And in the meanwhile, I'm like, this is interesting. So let's check this out. So I had my PlayStation and I was like, I'll give it a shot. I had an old PS3 camera, plugged that bad boy in, and was communicating with a few people. And as time went on, I was like, okay, there's some money to be made here. Let's try that. And then I failed terribly, but it was still fun. So we're going to go over kind of how to get started on the Twitch world and all the craziness that comes with it.
Well, that is awesome. And we've got a couple special guest Twitch streamers extraordinaire, Layden, who is joining us. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today, Layden.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you on here. And we've also got Jukes, the one and only.
Hi, how you guys doing tonight? Thanks for having me.
Hey, I appreciate you coming, doing pretty well, man. I don't know if I've got the selection of beverages that you have here, but I'm doing pretty good with my port. So we're definitely going to have some good color commentary with our special guest. I know I've watched these guys stream. All of us have streamed and done quite a bit. I'm going to give you guys some insight from going out to TwitchCon and understand kind of what I learned from out there, give you guys a free showcase of what I picked up out there, and kind of go over some of the things like how you build it from ground up. If you're just going to say, hey, I want to go, I play video games, let me go stream. Okay. So Layden, for you, what brought you to streaming in the first place?
Just saw that my buddy Jukes here started doing it. I couldn't really do it at the time when he started because I was working a lot and not in a situation to be able to stream.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got back and having to take care of things at the house, I had a lot more time, and just kind of how Jukes will tell you, I'm already gaming and I have the hardware to do it, so I might as well give it a shot. It's definitely an experience, and it's very against my nature to sit there and play games in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it is a very
imaginary people that aren't really there yet.
Yeah. Well, and it always shocks me, like when you're streaming and you got one or two people and you're on for a couple hours, and you get that report afterwards, like, you had 27 people come through your stream. I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah. That's my big thing about Twitch and how it reports stats. It's like you have all these views, but it doesn't really give you any analytics unless you have a ton of views and a ton of followers or subscriptions if you're at that level, and so on and so forth. And it's just kind of all misleading.
Mm-hmm. It is. And I'll go into some of that stuff that I learned when talking to some of the Twitch personnel out there. And what about Jukes? What brought you to streaming?
So it all started back in the day. I'm just joking. I stole that from Matt.
A long time ago.
So I was actually playing The Division, and I ended up meeting some random people on there, and my charisma, I guess, when I get jacked up when I'm gaming, they were like, dude, you should start streaming. And they couldn't pronounce my name at the time, which was JKUSTE5S.
Mhm.
Obviously, that doesn't sound like anything. Go ahead and try and pronounce that.
Say that out loud for me, like without spelling it.
JKUS5S.
No.
Yeah, no, it's fucking nothing. So they were like, my name, they called me Jukes in the game. So
Mhm.
they were like, you should just call your stream Jukes.
Mhm.
Well, as it so happened, Jukes is already taken. So I'm just Jukes, but it's
Right.
Jukes. So it's just Jukes. But yeah, that's how I got talked into doing it like that. And I looked it up and started making some YouTube videos a while before that for like Heroes and Generals. And I was like, well, this can't be too much more difficult. And it's not. It's different. And to touch base on what Layden said, or Matt, is you gotta. I started doing it because it was suggested to me, and I looked at it like this: I'm going to be playing games anyways, right? Regardless.
Right.
If people want to watch me, that's cool. If people don't want to watch me, that's fine too. I'm gonna throw it out to the world, and if people want to catch it, then awesome. If they don't, fuck them. It's not going to put me off any. I'm going to still be playing video games, right? So that's my outlook on it. And if something becomes of it, awesome. If something doesn't, I'm not going to be butthurt. I still have a job. I still work 40 hours a week. I still have an income. I have my own place. I make my own car payments, shit like that. So my life's going to progress regardless.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the outlook that I think I take on it, and I think most people should. I mean, if you want to have it a little on the back of your mind, like hopefully something becomes of this, that's fine. But unless you invest a lot of time and money and gear and effort into it, then you're probably thinking you can. Then you're in for a world of disappointment.
So I think you're coming to a lot of the conclusions I've drawn over time. And while I am not a super consistent streamer and never have been, I am a very, very good student of it and did a lot of interviews with some of the Twitch personnel, from their legal team to their dev team to some of the biggest streamers, and went to a lot of conferences to I'll give you guys some tidbits on what the math looks like to make that work. And Jukes is dead on. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. So with that, let's segue into Rolla. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the first step, or I should say the second step, when you become a Twitch affiliate? Normally anybody can pick up and stream anytime, right? Just tomorrow you can start a stream and get those legendary dreams in your head. But they have a couple steps that are much more clearly laid out today. If you flash back 5-6 years ago, you didn't know what was going on and how to become this person, where Layden had mentioned the analytics are really weak. You flash back 3, 4, 5 years ago, they were non-existent, and it was just a hope and a prayer. And you have people that get partnered, or they didn't have affiliates back then, but you had people get partnered that had no business being partnered in today's world, right? They just had the right connections or whatever. So it is a little bit more of a linear process. So Kid's going to kick us off and tell us a little bit about the affiliation process with Twitch.
So becoming a Twitch affiliate, at least 500 total minutes of broadcast time in 30 days, at least 7 unique broadcasts in 30 days, an average of 3 concurrent viewers or more in the last 30 days, and at least 50 followers. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're definitely getting started, getting 50 followers is such a pain in the butt.
That is no joke.
And for me, I went to a game that was not like Fortnite, just completely oversaturated with people. And then most people just dive into the top 10 players, and it's crazy. So I started with a game called Summoner's War. Usually there's anywhere from 800 to 1,000 viewers, but that's where I got my most followers. So I would definitely recommend, if you're going to get into that, start with a game that has around the 1,000 follower community, if you will. And then you can jump in other people's cast, get to talking with them, say, hey, I'm doing this. And that's kind of how I built my following.
And I think that's it's a valid point. I got my initial affiliation largely from, I would say it was almost a dead even split between Clash of Clans and Clash Royale doing mobile gaming. And at that time, Clash Royale was a little bit bigger than that, but I think the point Kid is making is the niche gaming tends to be open more to new players in there. And from that matter, when you've got a bunch of people that are streaming and they've got audiences of 10, 50, 100 people watching them at one time, they're very approachable, right? You can reach out to these people who are leading that area, talk to them, you start gaming with them, you do co-shows with them, and you start getting in that community. And I realized, like in the Clash Royale community, I was nowhere near the top tier, but I was definitely in the second tier with a lot of interactivity with the top tier folks. They would pass viewers off to me. It gave me a lot of really quick growth to get to the affiliation stage. And Kids mentioned in the 50 followers, but the more challenging thing to me when you first start is getting 3 concurrent viewers. I know it doesn't sound like a lot. And if you talk to the big streamers, they'll tell you, hey, get your friends, your family, anybody you know, just to turn their computer on and watch. But 3 concurrent people that are going to sit there with you for your entire stream, it is a lot to ask from random people when you're an unknown.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So definitely also think about when you're doing that to learn when the big dogs are on, if you will. One thing that really helped me, Jew Bagel was the head guy on there, and whenever he would jump off, he would send all his people to my stream, or usually he would pick somebody on the lower tiers saying, hey, I see you're trying, here you go. And I usually picked up a lot of followers from that. So always learn when they're on, and then usually you won't get a lot of attention because that's where everybody's at. But usually those guys, whenever they jump off, they send everybody to the lower tier guys. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, it is a really valid point, because it's not accidental when you see a number of mid to large size streamers that they will have an unspoken agreement and sometimes a spoken agreement as to when they're broadcasting. So they do pass their viewers back and forth with each other quite a bit. And that's where I say that community comes in. And think about, you're on a Twitch stream, you're watching 30 or watching one streamer that's got 30 or 40 people in there, and you get to be friends with them. You may even be a mod in their channel. That's recommended a lot, is you try to mod their channel. If you're there with them loyal, you mod their channel for a little while, then they'll be glad to pass you viewers whenever they're logging out. So that becomes a growth engine in and of itself. But from your experience, Jukes, how's that building, when you're streaming for hours and hours and hours on end and you don't know if anybody's in there?
So I actually used to have a view counter set up, and sometimes it would spike, especially if you use like Restream and it goes on the Mixer. Excuse me. Like, they'll do this thing where, like, if you play PUBG, for example, it will have a bunch of people that will kind of show up if you're in the final 10, and it can spike up to like 500 up to 1,000 people, and it's kind of really cool. That being said, concurrent viewers and not knowing whether or not they're in there, if you pay attention to it, I feel like it puts more pressure on you to focus on streaming than it does gaming, which is kind of contradicting why you're streaming in the first place. And that I found myself doing that a lot, like trying to focus on my stream more than focusing on my game. And I have watched my skill in like PUBG, for example, go down significantly because I stopped focusing on what was fun about what I was doing instead I was focusing on how many viewers do I have, who's watching, how can I get more people in here. And to be honest, it kind of killed it for me. I mean, I still stream. Well, not as much lately these days, but I still like to stream. But I love gaming. I'm always going to game, no matter how old I get. But as far as getting the concurrent viewers, I feel like that's going to be your most difficult task. I mean, I've been in the lineup for affiliate for like the last 2 years now, except for the 3 concurrent viewers. And that's crazy to me, because if you look at the amount of hours I log streaming, I literally blow some of these people that make a living off of it in the dust. So it makes you wonder. I know Matt said something along the lines of, working with other streamers, seeing when they're on, and I feel like that's a good play on it. And if I wanted to put that much effort into it, I probably could and should. But I feel like at the heart of it, I want to be a gamer more than I want to be a streamer. So that's my philosophy on it. And I feel like putting those two together, if you put one more above the other, it can hurt you as an enjoyment factor.
Yeah. Because you're dead on. I mean, in so many ways, I came to a very similar conclusion, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But ultimately, you're asking for a job, right? You're not going out there to do this for fun. You're going out there to entertain. Gaming becomes secondary. Yes, you do need to be able to have some kind of skill and competency in a game for people to want to watch you, but your primary focus is entertaining people. It is not gaming. And don't kid yourself. It is playing games, but you do have to have an entertainer, and you got to have that entertainment energy that you're putting on a show. As soon as it clicks on, you've got to have that kind of energy and focus. And you're dead on. You lose your focus on your gaming. You lose your focus on other facets of your life to be able to do that. And that's a big thing I want you to take away. If you're listening to this and you're looking at this, realize it's a commitment, just like a job would be.
But do you feel like it should be that way? Like, do you feel like you should sacrifice your enjoyment of a game in order to entertain other people, or do you feel like maybe people should just be entertained with who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, I think that's ideal, but it comes back to the, a sports analogy for me is coming up in the age that I did and playing sports and whatnot through high school and so on and so forth. Immediately, right around the time I was graduating high school, it became a thing to have professional athletes starting training at 3 and 4 years old, right? It became, you're now training athletes to be a basketball player. You're not training a student to go play basketball. So I think it's similar in contrast that you've got people who dedicated their focus to be great streamers, and they are entertaining. And occasionally you'll get one that's pretty skilled, right? And I think it has become the other way because the entertainment engine is so demanding on the content. Is this exactly what I want to see? If it's not, they just flip the channel and go to the next place.
Yeah. With that being said, if your focus is being an affiliate, then don't be on a fast-paced game, maybe a turn-based game or something that doesn't, you have to be so focused in. Like Summoner's War is a turn-based game. So in between my turn, I can look over the chat and focus on the people I'm talking to. So that really helped me hit my affiliate.
Mm-hmm. And I think, back to your point, Jukes, I think it was a big deal because you saw a shift whenever Amazon turned around and bought out Twitch, right? It became a business at that point instead of where it started off with like Justin TV, a bunch of kids out there playing, having fun, and doing it for a public audience, right?
Well, yeah. Oh, you got to make sure, like, you almost hope that the way you play games is entertaining enough, as opposed to putting in the extra effort and sacrificing the game. Like I'm sure you've played games with me. Like, I'm gonna get jacked regardless. Like, if you get down to that final 10 and like today, me and Matt, we got our duos winning PUBG. Like, I get super fucking excited. I get jacked up, but that's just how I am, whether I'm streaming or not. Like, I'll get complaints from my neighbors for sound violations all the fucking time just because I'm gonna be shouting. But that's just, and that's a personality type too. I'm an introvert, but you know what? When it comes to playing video games, realistically, I'm just looking at my monitor and the webcam's above it. There's nothing's going to really distract me. I'm not paying attention to who's paying attention to me. I'm focused on what I'm doing. I'm focused on the game.
All right. So Layden, what's your take on some of this commentary, as well as, your initial stream life, like what it is to starting to become a streamer as opposed to a gamer? What's your thoughts on this?
So real quick about the average viewers, that is the hardest thing to do because the longer you stream, the harder it gets. Unless there's some sort of cap on the amount of time spent streaming versus the amount of average streamer or average viewers you have. Because unless you get that's why you need the huge influx to overcome that ratio of time spent streaming versus how many people are actually watching you. You know what I mean? So it becomes infinitely harder the more hours you put in. So that really drives me nuts. It drives me nuts what's considered a view as well. And it's, I'll see people like pop in and I'll see like 3 or 4 people watching, but when you actually go back after it's the stream's done, he had no views. It's like, what? And but as far as like paying attention, it is very hard for me to pay attention, and I've tried to set up notifications when people talk to me, because I will just be completely oblivious to everything that's going on. And I have, a monitor sitting right in my periphery, and I mean, Yellowline complains because I can't I'm so focused into the game where I won't pay attention when one of our squad mates dies.
That's true. I complained about it today.
But I mean, I'm focused on what's right in front of me, and there was an enemy right in front of me. I'm not going to look to see who's alive. Plus, I have a 34-inch monitor. It's kind of hard to see it. It's super tiny on the bottom left side of my screen. And is it so much to ask to tell me when you go down?
Oh, okay. Whoa.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Whoa.
All right. So moving on, I'm going to jump into a little bit of the partnership path, and I'm going to give you guys some tidbits that I learned. Love to hear your guys' feedback on this, because going out there, when I did, there was a streamer that broke the mold, and I think they really opened up Twitch's eyes to understand their analytics and start paying some attention to it, because this is the only time it's ever happened in Twitch history. It's a streamer by the name of Moon Moon, and he kind of gave his full path, exactly what he did. He disclosed it to the Twitch attorneys, and he got approval to kind of give out his method. And you see a lot of people using something like this. But I'm going to talk about what the difference is, because when you're looking at the 3 concurrent viewers, now you get to a partnership status, and this is a big difference. So affiliate, some of the bonuses, you can start monetizing, right? You can start monetizing your cast. You can start having some special emoticons and whatnot. So there's some perks to that, and they're not insignificant, but people that do this as a career, they're partnered. And what that means is they're actually getting ad revenue from Twitch when they're streaming. They're getting, they start getting merchandising. They start getting invited into Twitch events to represent. I was watching the Prime Day, and another indication of how Amazon's really monetize the whole Twitch era. They had some of the big streamers on like a TV show. I'm sitting here thinking, like, am I watching like telesales TV going back 20 years right now? Because they brought some of these big streamers in to pimp their products. And I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I forgot. I think it was on Engadget. They started showing a video. I'm like, why is Amazon like live streaming an Amazon Day or Prime Day deal? I don't quite like, and all these people like shilling products for them.
Yeah, and it's their streamers, and I'm sitting here thinking like I'm watching one of those, the late night buy it on as seen on TV shows, right? And going, what the hell are we doing?
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, they have all this eyeballs watching them, with this resource of Twitch. You might as well use it like that,
right? And that's that again is where it's become more of a business, and I understand it, because ultimately, if you're a tech guy, you know what kind of cost that's being forked out to be able to handle this much infrastructure, to handle the thousands of streams. I think Amazon, since taking over, is getting like 1 million new viewers per month to Twitch, right? So you start looking at all that bandwidth. I get that there's some huge costs, but it's definitely being a monetized industry at this point.
Well, when you think about it, considering Amazon's one or two of the largest infrastructures of servers, I'm sure Twitch was already using their servers anyway. So
right,
it's not like it was a huge leap. Now they just don't get that revenue directly from Twitch. It's just part of their company now.
Right, and you start looking at all these components there. It's becoming big business, and I don't want to ignore that. And I think I know everybody at one point this year has had, well, maybe in the last year, has had the word ninja on their mind at some point, because, regardless of what you think about the guy, he broke a glass ceiling for that industry, right? When you got a guy that's going to put up 20 million in revenue in a year based on playing video games, that is a glass ceiling being broken, right?
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, you see his shirts in Walmart, dude. Come on.
That guy, man.
I didn't know that.
I mean,
Yeah.
he puts in work, and his wife is his manager, so I mean that helps because she's constantly there on the back end doing everything for him to an extent. Like he's got the skill, he's got the entertainment, but as far as the logistics of business go, she's back there just laying it down for him like no one's fucking business.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a good indicator of what becoming a partner with Twitch can really do for you because, you know, he hosted, this is the one that blew my mind, that they had that event out in Vegas, Ninja Vegas, and had that tournament. I think at one point I saw around 600,000 concurrent viewers watching that. That is crazy to me.
Oh yeah. That's
Was he on ESPN when they started streaming that stuff?
Yes, he
I
was.
remember being in an Applebee's for somebody's birthday, and they were playing. They were showing ESPN live gaming.
Mhm.
Like, what the hell is going on?
Yep. And that's kind of it's kind of a big deal, regardless of what you think about his play style, his business model, or whatever. It broke a glass ceiling. So that's where I got to give the guy props, and the whole organization showed some really cool stuff, what they can do and how out in front they can bring gaming and video streaming. So
let me ask you a question on that front. Do you think that he could have been the only person to do that? Because if we look, there are a ton of streamers out there that are really big in the community.
Mhm.
Do you think other streamers could have broken that barrier at some point in time?
I think so. I think there's his partner that he streams with is Dr. Lupo that you see all the time. And he always cracks jokes on him. They're personal friends, right? And they were doing some event, and Dr. Lupo cracked the joke that, well, it's 9:00. All the kids are going home, so all of Ninja's viewers disappeared.
Yeah. I heard that.
And I think there's a valid point behind the business there, because the guy was talented enough to make me watch him. Right, I had to watch and see, because the guy's obviously got some skills. He's been a pro player for years in Halo and things like that. And you got to remember, the guy streamed for 7 years as a nobody before he blew up too. But he also had that dynamic, that crazy ass dance that he does. He gets the young kids involved, which, you know, I have 3 kids, and I can tell you for certain when they're playing video games, they're watching somebody online. So he got a couple of markets there. So he really owned that teen tween age group so well that it blew up a really big part of the population. So I think other people would get there, and I think there's other ones out there that are really big. But he just had that dynamic that he got a little bit of that crowd and then all the young crowd as well.
Yeah, so to that, the young crowd, I think that's the key, is because they're the ones that are going to be watching, like getting all the views. Minecraft would be another huge one.
Mhm.
If you were to get some sort of traction in Minecraft, I mean, you're almost guaranteed. Like, if you were to do a YouTube route, you're almost guaranteed like 1 million subscribers just from children watching it.
Well, do you guys know, here's a pop quiz. Do you guys know who the top grossing YouTuber was last year?
No
Dr.
idea.
Disrespect?
Nope.
Summit G1.
It was the little 6-year-old kid opening presents. Top grossing YouTuber.
Toy, yeah.
Yep.
The whole toys market is
Fucking
crazy.
send me gifts, guys.
Yeah.
I will open them. We will get this podcast on a stream, and I will open gifts that you
You will
guys send
find a
me.
kid.
We
to
will
open
jump up
gifts.
and down and act like idiots too.
I'll dress like a fucking kid.
Yeah, buddy. So that's the craziest thing to me. That kid, it was like over 20 million, 30 million in revenue off of that kid's streams just from opening presents, because he was crazy when he opens those things.
Oh, fuck.
So do
So-
people
Around my
send
box
him
of briefs.
So I'm gonna go ahead and jump on Pat the Partner. So I'm looking at my dashboard here. You got a stream for 25 hours on 12 different days, and you got to carry an average of 75 viewers. So when we're talking about the challenges of getting to 3, this is getting to 75. So this is a point you start getting serious. When I talked about Moon or alluded to that. So here's the big secret. This is what the guy did, because I want you to realize, for him, he walked into the streaming game with this plan in his back pocket and went straight to work. And what happened when we're talking about the 75 becomes a partner, this guy went to 6,000 concurrent viewers in the first month he was streaming, and he maintained that without a dip for 18 months at the time that I was talking to the Twitch staff and they were explaining how this happened, right? And his path, that's unbelievable, and it's never been done, but he went into it with a math and a science specifically to be a great streamer. And you know what the crazy thing is? He did that without a webcam. 100%.
Is this the guy that did? Is this the guy that did DayZ?
I don't know what he started doing. I don't know. I've seen
was
him.
it Mr. Moon?
He goes by, it's Moon. Like I look for it, it's Moon something else is on the. Moon OW is the guy. Right now he's hanging in at 819,000 followers. Okay. So this was his plan when he went in. 6,000 concurrent viewers. He's getting close to 1 million total. He's probably like 2 or 3 years in. I think he's backed off of this because it's pretty intense. But here's what the guy did. 8 a.m. he started streaming. He streamed for 4 hours till noon. Okay. Playing games, no webcam. He's very interactive. Obviously, he's got a great personality. But then as soon as he clocked out at noon, he spent 4 hours drumming social media. I mean, hitting up people, every player out there. He was blowing it up. And I don't mean like sending a post. This guy was 4 hours nonstop on every social. Hey, go do this. Come check me out at this. Oh, I play this game too. He's interacting with people. Then at 8 p.m., he started another 4-hour stream till midnight. And he did this every single day. And what his plan was, and this is where analytics became such a big deal for Twitch, is watching this guy just break all these records, right? He was basically doing that to hit both sides of the world, right? He gets a 4-hour stream. He covers the U.S., the Western countries, Canada, Mexico, get all your South America. Then the nights that was really, he was getting across the sea. So London, all that stuff. He was picking that up in the morning. Then at night, he would pick the West staff. So he had whole different sets of viewers. And that's why he was able to maintain so high. And the biggest thing was this was 7 days a week. So when you're looking at your job today, think about this. The guy's putting in 12-hour days, rock solid, without fail, 7 days a week. To the point, or to the extent, TwitchCon, if you haven't heard about it, it's 50, 80,000 people that are all these big names in streaming. All the big companies are out there. And Twitch is putting us on to build the community as well as bring knowledge. And it's just a whole big party, right? Well, they invited him to come up and speak. They were giving him whatever time slot he wanted. And his response was, hey, I would love to do that, but I can't miss an episode.
Wow. That's
so
insane.
This is to further explain. So there are 2 streamers, Gassy Mexican and Pocket, that are long time streamers. I mean, they were in Justin TV when it first started. These guys are pro. They're up in the 6 figures each on streaming dollars that they're earning from their stuff. Well, they got married. Okay. They were up there presenting and they were explaining what the importance of regularity is. And they said, well, listen, we're both 6-figure income from streaming and Twitch. Well, we got married and they took off 10 days to get married and go have their honeymoon and do all the prep and all that stuff. So each of the 2 of them took off 10 straight days. They lost half of their income.
Man.
Wow.
That they, they're so based on regularity. In 10 days, they lost what had taken them 7 and 8 years to put together.
Right, because everybody was drifting off, going and checking other people out instead of them.
Mm-hmm. And this, go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say, there's just so many people because, I mean, like you said, you could be streaming tomorrow with barely any sort of special equipment. It doesn't take a lot, especially if you're going to stream at the lowest possible settings, which seems to be more popular than streaming at a higher quality.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people watching on mobile. It's not as important to have this crystal clear picture, right?
Right. And so, that sucks where you're like constantly under the gun.
Mm-hmm.
And in that arena where I think that's where YouTube kind of steps in, where you need to kind of have like a more offline content creation going on to tied over those 10 days or however long you're planning on.
Right.
Or I mean, yeah, I understand wanting to be off for 10 days, and that's crazy to like not be able to have your own free time.
Right.
But if you were to like, if they were to probably like live stream like a in real life type deal, maybe for like 15 minutes a day,
right?
They probably would have kept. It probably would have been such a steep drop.
Well, if you look back at that time that all this was going on, Twitch invested in a ton of money to start doing VODs on their channel because of this very thing, that they had all these people. Remember, these are partners to Twitch and Amazon, that they're business partners, right? If
right, because if they lose their viewership, then Twitch is going to lose money.
Right. So they combated this by having this video on demand so people could still watch their favorite people, even if they wanted to do something as silly as go get married, right? And I think it's
you done fucked up. Game over. Don't get married.
You talk about, I know getting divorced costs you half everything you earn. I didn't know getting married did too.
So I mean, it's just like Juke said, you really got to ask yourself, what do you want to do? Are you doing it for the fun, or are you doing it for the money? So that gives both sides of what you're getting into if you're thinking about getting into the whole Twitch stream.
Yeah, and that's the point I wanted to drive home. The whole cast is, we were talking about this deal, and Juke said it right off the gate, is you got to figure out what you want to do. If you want to become an entertainer and get paid for this immediately and follow in the path of Moon, understand what you're getting into. You're talking about 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. And we're not talking about slacking off, right? You've got to be entertaining that whole time. I think about, you've all heard these stories, I'm sure, about Hollywood actors and how strung out they get when they're doing a movie because all the intensity that goes into that. Or, you hear, these sitcom performers or these regular weekly show performers get so worn out because there's so many shows. Well, this world, you're doing that 7 days a week to get to that level, right? So keep that in mind, because I think Juke's hit it on the head right as we started. Do it for the love of playing video games. If you want to BS with people, talk and have a good time with it, jump into it. I think it's absolutely a fun activity, but don't start off with these big, huge dreams. Understand what you're getting into. Enjoy the process, because if you're enjoying it, your viewers are going to enjoy you and watching that. If you're talking like Jukes was, that you're stressed out, like, oh, I don't have enough people in here, that's going to come across. People are going to see and feel that and go like, this isn't so entertaining because you're so wound up because you don't have enough viewers. So any final thoughts? We'll start with Matt Layden on kind of what your final thoughts are about this.
So, hearing about how those people, spent almost a decade building their, following, and then losing it in 10 days because of, just, trying to have a real life outside of, video games and streaming. But I think at the same time is that boundaries need to be set. So you need to not stream every day. And then, so when viewers come in, they see, oh, you stream 2 days a week. Well, then they're okay with that. But if you go from, you're streaming every single day and they expect you to be there every single day, and then all of a sudden you decide to not do that anymore, well, then they're going to be like, fuck you, we're going to go somewhere else. And apparently that happened for those guys.
Right.
And so, I mean, if you have a set boundary and time going into it and you build your following that way, you're probably not going to be risking as much as somebody who's doing it 7 days a week like Moon or those other two. And yeah, so, but yeah, like everybody's saying, is that you need to figure out why you're doing it. And I think if you treat it like a business, then you need to expect what business does to you.
Very good.
And,
Absolutely.
That's it. I mean, business is business, and whether you take it personal or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's the point I'm making with Juke's question about should it be the other way. I don't disagree. I'm 100% in agreement that you should watch what you enjoy. If you understand, if you're watching people that are in it for a business, they're not going to be bad or anything like that, but you're going to lose some of that, I guess, the natural flavor of what you're watching. You're going to see something that's more produced, that's getting closer to what you see on TV instead of real people playing games. So, Jukes, the final thoughts from you?
Let's see here. I mean, just anything I could have said, I can already say. I guess the only thing touching back is how these guys lost so many viewers when they took some days off. On that topic, I wanted to ask, that doesn't involve their people that have subscriptions with them, correct?
That was the subscription people. They started canceling subscriptions. That was the revenue they lost.
Oh, so these people got so butthurt
Mhm.
that they couldn't watch their favorite streamer, that they legitimately canceled their subscriptions.
Yep. 100%. So
See, I didn't think you could do that.
Yep.
Subscriptions work. You pay once and you get it for a month, right?
Right.
Or whatever it is.
Correct.
They took 10 days out of 30 or 31. I get it. People, just watching backlash from video games and stuff like that, people get extremely upset if your content in that video game doesn't exceed a certain amount of hours
Mhm.
put in, regardless of how fast you complete the content.
Right.
Especially for games and services. But
Dude, that's
yeah,
crazy.
That's insane. It is insane.
Well,
Like-
to go back to that, because that's a good point. We didn't go over like some of the monetization that really goes on at the affiliate and partner level. Is when people subscribe to you, they pay $5 a month. They have different tiers that they can choose to pay 10 or choose to pay 25, or you can use if you're a Twitch Prime member, you get one free subscription a month. And what happens is when you click a normal paid subscription, it puts an auto renew draft on whatever your form of payment is, right? What was happening, and those are generally after a time, you have a statistic to say this streamer accumulates 100 new subscribers a month and they average lose like 5. Okay. And when they're losing it, they're not deleting their subscription. They're just going in and canceling the auto renew.
Okay, so if someone subscribes to, like, let's say, well, I'll just say Dr. Disrespect
Yep.
for like 5 months,
Mhm.
and he takes 10 days off, or in modern news, is banned from Twitch
Yeah.
for a couple days,
Mhm.
and people, let's quote unquote unsubscribe. He still gets that 5 months worth of pay, correct?
Correct. He gets,
Okay.
well, it depends on the contract because the standard contracts, they get 50% of the revenue. Some people have more advanced contracts and different partnerships that they get a higher percentage, but the standard normal partner, he's getting $250 for each one of those.
Okay, so here's my thoughts on that then. My closing thoughts on that topic, these are mine, is that if they're gone for 10 days and they lose 50% of their viewership, right?
Mhm.
I'm going to just assume that these motherfuckers are charismatic enough that when they come back, they can make up at least 25 of the 50% that they lost.
Mhm.
Now, is it going to be as good as where they were before they left? No.
Mhm.
But will they get there eventually? Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, at some point in time, if you look at this like a business model, which all three of you guys talked about, the difference between a business model and doing it for fun. If you look at this like a business model, if you're gonna need to fucking take breaks,
Mhm.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that,
absolutely.
yeah, you got to. You're going to have to de-stress. You're going to have to take breaks. And if you look at this like a business model, just look at it like you're taking a fucking vacation and you don't have any PTO or some paid time off, for those who don't know what PTO is. If you don't have any paid time off, you're just going to have to suck up the loss. And hopefully when you get back, you can crack shit down again. You're refreshed, you're renewed, and you can get back to business. And you can start doing the shit that you're good at,
Mhm.
which is entertaining.
Mhm.
Because you are doing this in a business model format, so you are aiming to entertain. So we're just going to assume, like, I don't feel as bad for him as I did initially, knowing that those subscriptions that aren't necessarily going to get lost, yes, they cancel them, but they're still going to make up. They still have the give me time.
Mhm.
So for the subscribers that subscribe several months, they're still getting some leeway with some time to make it back up. And I feel like that is a benefit to them. They are lucky to have that.
Mhm.
Imagine if you could only subscribe 1 month at a time.
Right.
And then you lost half of your viewers.
Mhm.
Now you're actually fucking yourself,
Mhm.
but you still need to take the break. You know what I'm saying? So
It's got to happen.
it's a catch-22. You're gonna have to take the break. You're gonna have to de-stress, but you're gonna have to, kick ass when you get back to it.
Mhm.
That's my thoughts on that. I don't feel as bad for him as I initially did, but the whole ideal, it sucks still.
Mhm.
But I feel like they'll be all right in the long run.
Oh yeah, I don't think they're stopping that. I still see them out there streaming consistently. It's still their business, but I think that they invited them in as a warning to understand what you're getting into, but also the de facto nature of here's two of their partners that really got harmed financially for a time period. It made Twitch and Amazon turn around and respond in some way, right? And understand what that really means to be a partner. So there are strict requirements, but I'm not going to say Amazon and Twitch is ignorant to that, or they're not cold-hearted to that, because that's their business too. If you get a successful streamer, that's more people consuming their product, right? So
I mean, yeah, they're just peons. They're just peons to them.
Yep.
Realistically.
They are, but they need a lot of peons.
No.
Yes, but they have a lot of peons,
That's right.
and they're going to continue to get them. I mean, if one streamer goes down, another one's going to pop up.
Yep.
I mean, you lose one, you're gonna get another one. I mean, that's just the way the world legitimately functions.
Mhm.
Someone fails, someone else is going to succeed.
All right. And Kid, what about your final thoughts on our streaming topic tonight?
So if you've been intrigued by what we've said, I'd definitely say give it a try. I mean, nonetheless, you'll meet some great people in the world that are like-minded, and potentially, who knows, you might be the next big ninja. You never know till you try. But nonetheless, it's fun. Get involved in the community, try new things out, and make something unique about yourself to try to get them viewers. And if not, just enjoy the gaming. It's just a plus to get people in there and chat back and forth.
I will give
I agree 100.
I
100%.
will shout out one gripe I have about Twitch that you guys are talking about this that drove me crazy. Is I had the third largest Fortnite community built on the entirety of Twitch, and it wasn't because I was streaming to it, but I built a community for Fortnite PvE side before the PvP side came out, and they did away with the communities, and oh my God, I was pissed. Twitch, bring that back. I missed that a lot. But it was pretty cool just being a community manager. It was kind of weird that if somebody had a TOS violation, I had to respond to it. It didn't go to Twitch, it went to me. And that was anybody in any of these 150 channels that were streaming this game. It was kind of crazy. It was kind of cool. I felt empowered by it. I hate that it went away, but kind of cool. So I'm gonna wrap up on my final thoughts, and I think I've kind of summarized it, and I think everybody did a good job talking about, hey, there is some threat, there is some reward, but at the end of the day, like, think about who you want to watch. I want to watch somebody who's having fun, they're natural, they're doing it for fun. And I will give a shout out to everybody out there on Twitch. Don't be a jerk. If you're going in, even if it's 5 seconds, go in there and say hi to these folks, because they are putting themselves out there. It's not a comfortable thing to go put yourself out in front of a bunch of people. Say hi. People love the interactivity. Even the people that have thousands of people in there, they want that interactivity, because that is going to make them more vivacious and fun to watch if they're responding and talking and engaging with the crowd. But, if you're watching, say hi to these guys. They're putting themselves out there. They're doing a lot of work. There's a lot going on behind the scenes to make them successful, even if it's guys like us that are doing it from our basements or our bedrooms or living rooms, and we're just doing it occasionally or whatnot. Say hi. People will interact. We love to do that. If they're on video for the whole world to see, they want to interact with you, I can promise you. So with that being said, I do appreciate Jukes. Thanks for joining us tonight. That was an absolute pleasure to have you on. Kind of talk through your
Thank you for having
thoughts.
me.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yep, we're gonna do this again, I promise. And Layden, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the insight, feedback tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolute fun, guys. So
Matt Dragon, I'm glad to have met you guys, and this
Absolutely.
opportunity was great. It was fucking awesome.
Oh, Jesus.
And with that being said, I mean, if you're on there on Twitch, be sure to jump in some of the lower tier guys, and like Dragon X said, just jump in there and say hi, man. It goes a long way, helps build the community and evolve Twitch into a better program.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Go check out Layden. Go check out Jukes, just Jukes. Layden Sky, I think, is what your Twitch handle is. Go check these guys out, because they are awesome PUBG players. I love to watch them when we're doing our charity events. I'll stop a couple hours every night just to go over and watch these two guys play. They got some mad skills. Don't discredit their.
Okay.
It's humor. It's humor first. The skills are second. The humor is first.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that too. I got a lot of good clips from you guys last year, but these guys are definitely talented. Go check them out on stream. They have a good time when they're on there. Obviously entertaining, as you hear tonight, and they do have some skills. You're going to learn a few things from these guys. So with that being said, we're out.
Later.
Later.
And that's all we got to talk about today, folks. This is Drag.
And this is Kid. If you enjoyed our cast, make sure and check out our website, follow our socials. We love feedback. You give it, we'll talk about it.
You can find us at kidindrag.chat on our website. For Twitter, it's dragkidin. For Instagram, it is Kid and Drag. Same for Facebook, Kid and Drag. We take feedback on all of those social platforms, and we'll see you next time.
Later.